But don't nobody like to be black when it's time to be black. Y'all only want to be black when I gotta say something about my black ass, okay? But I won't get into that. Well, no, I am gonna get into that. What's good, y'all? It's your girl, the Hood Alchemist. Hey.
It's your girl, the Hood Alchemist. Hey. It's your girl, the Hood. It's your girl, the Hood. It's your girl, the Hood.
What's good, y'all? It's your girl, the Hood Alchemist, here bringing you the art of transformation infused with so much flavor and so much culture. That's right, y'all. I said flavor and culture. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your post notification bell on, and like this video. Let the algorithm know that you effing with me, okay? You gotta let the algorithm know. Shit, you gotta let me know. Let me know, okay? Is my living in vain? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. What's up, y'all? Today, in this video, I want to talk about what it feels like being black American, because some people be
like, it's black people in other countries, black people. I know.
But don't nobody like to be black when it's time to be black. Y'all only want to be black when I gotta say something about my black ass, okay? But I won't get into that. Well, no, I am going to get into that. But I want to talk about what it feels like to be black American. Even though I identify as Afro-Indigenous, I identify as black, but I call myself Afro-Indigenous because I know who my ancestors are. I know where I'm from. So it makes no sense for me not to like honor them in the way that I express my identity. I want to talk about, it's hot too, so you getting a fan today, okay? You're getting a fan today. I want to talk about what it feels like to be a black person from America living in other spaces. And for real, just what it feels like to be a black person from America, because it's an interesting, my bad, y'all. I just ate some yogurt. Get those probiotics in for your morning. Greek yogurt with some chia seeds and some honey. Just a drizzle of lime juice, you know, just to add a little kick to it. But this topic. So being a black person from America comes with, it's a layered existence, you know? And when you travel outside of America, the interesting thing is that you just become American. You become American. And I've noticed with my cousins, you know, my other folks of color, you know, whether it be Caribbeans, whether it be Afro-Latinas, you know, even Africans. Like, I've noticed that they always want us to just be American. Don't try to acknowledge the other parts of your culture. And I'm not saying all of y'all, because I know some of y'all don't even care. But there's this thing that I've noticed where people who are black from other places do have a stronger tie to their nationality. You know, Jamaicans be loving to be Jamaicans. Dominicans love to be Dominican. The moment you call them black, they get in their feels about it. But the funny thing is, being a black person from America, we don't have that same relationship to America. Like, I love my native country. I'm grateful that I was born in America. But also, being a black person in America, it's like your whole life, you're constantly being rejected by the very country that you live in. Your whole life, you're in a place where you don't feel American. You don't feel like you can even acknowledge what it means to be American a lot of times, unless you kind of denounce or detach yourself away from your blackness. I don't see a lot of people who wear the two very well. You know, it's either you out here, America, fuck these niggas, or you just super black and you not trying to even be a part of the American understanding. And so, coming to another country, I live in Belize right now. I was humbled at first because it did make me have to step back and appreciate my Americanness. It made me have to step back and appreciate and even connect to my American privilege and recognize that, like, me growing up in America did afford me some of the things that people in other countries might not have. But also in the same breath, those people are the same people to let me know, like, they could care less about those privileges in a lot of ways. It's like that stuff is used against us, you know? I think for a black person that is born in North America, to be able to understand and recognize their identity outside of being black or African American, it actually can be a beautiful thing when you allow yourself, just like white people in America, like, In America, you have to choose white or black. And the sad thing is, most white people know where their ancestors come from. Or most white people know that they have a connection to Ireland, or that they're Scottish or Italian or something else. But it does kind of create this energy where you're forced into that category. But on the flip side, when you're a black person, if you acknowledge anything, like if you say, you know, I got Ghanaian ancestry, if you say I got some indigenous ancestry, if you acknowledge anything outside of being American or being black, people jump down your throat. People take that offensively. People want to put you in your place. And so coming to Belize as a black person in a country where there are black people, it's been interesting because people oftentimes talk about like black Americans not having culture, but we do have culture. Our culture just looks different. You know, you go to the South, black people hit different in the South than they do in California, than they do in New York. Like, we all have different experiences, but there are a few things that is just true to all of us, from the music, from the way we dress and the way we wear our clothes, to even the way we talk. You know, like, we have different accents depending on where you're at in America. And so it's interesting to go to other places and to see how people consume the parts of my culture that have given me permission to even like be grounded in something or to feel connected to something, and yet they don't know anything about my experience. Coming here and automatically being called American, it's like, but it's by people who using the N-word, people who riding around listening to Lil Wayne, people who got on Nike slides and snapbacks and stuff like that. It's like, that is a part of my culture, but you don't know nothing about the civil rights movement. You don't know nothing about the history of the N-word. You don't know nothing about what it's like to be black in America except for what you see on TV. And yes, a lot of what you see on TV, it's parts of the truth, you know, because we know everything on TV. As much as it's true, it's still just all a little... It's a little much. It's a little much. So it's just interesting to see the way people consume blackness, but don't actually want to hear our stories, don't want to actually hear our voices, and constantly always feel like they have to put us in our place. I don't think other people of color, especially Caribbean folks, especially Africans, I don't think that we have enough conversations around that topic. Just how quickly people are willing to other us or check us or tell us we don't know nothing. You don't know your history. You don't know where you're from. Bitch, duh.
Duh.
I know that. We know that. What are you doing by reminding me? But becoming the same thing that the white supremacy has created. Like, but projecting that same energy. What are you doing? So being here as a black woman, I have noticed the subtle, first off, let me say this, very welcoming, like people are welcoming. People, you know, people love black people, whether you from America, whether you from another place, people love black people. Let's just put that out there. Like, people love black people love the culture. And so coming here, I have experienced like that love. I have experienced the peace of mind. I have experienced the parts where I could blend in and the parts where it's like I stand out and people are like, oh. But what I have noticed is that nobody is really interested in hearing what the black experience is, because everybody thinks they know. Everybody thinks they know my story more than I know my story. And you know, I'm from the hood. Like, I grew up in a housing projects in the 90s. Like, I was a whole ass crack baby out here, you know? So my narrative of blackness is even different than if you met a black person from America who grew up middle class or who grew up like wealthy. That's a different experience. And so when people don't want to embrace the totality of it all, it can be a little annoying. It's like, why do we always have to be the ignorant ones? Why do we always have to be the ones who we culture vulturing and we taking everybody else's stuff and we trying to claim stuff that ain't ours? But if I was from the Dominican, it would be okay for me to be like, I know I got African blood, I know I got indigenous blood, I know I got you know, like European blood. Like, it's okay for me to say that if I'm a black person from somewhere else, but being a black person from America, I have to just be black. And even thinking that as much as we embrace blackness, it's still an identity that was created and crafted for us. It's still an identity that ain't necessarily even true to our whole experience. And I don't call myself African American because I feel like that in itself is just First off, I ain't just African. We know I got some white people in me. I know I got some indigenous people in me. I know I got Ghanaian ancestry. Like, I know where my people are from. So for me to just call myself African American, it does take away from the the fullness of my experience and the fullness of who I am. And so what I've noticed here is that there is subtle racism, you know, like there's a lot of mestizos around. Like, we were in one of the islands here, Key Calker, and got pulled over, not because they thought we were from America, but because they thought we were Black Belizean. So even thinking about the fact that we're in a country where everybody is so, you know, everything is everything, we all right, but it's like there's still a separation between the Black folk and the brown folk, or the people who are like even more lighter. And watching the way people embrace white people. You know, I went to Standing Rock when that happened back in the States, and I noticed that as a Black woman who clearly, if you look at me, you can tell there's some indigenousness in there. They refused to see me. They refused to embrace me. They refused to really like accept me, but they were very open to the white people who were coming and showing up and who was low-key taking over, in all honesty. And I kind of feel that same energy here in Belize. And I think it's also entering that as a Black person from America, as much as a lot of our reality and our identity revolves around us kind of fighting for our rights, or having this awakeness or awareness of colonization and how it shows up, when I travel to other places where there are Black groups, it's a little sad to see that a lot of the people are still asleep. A lot of people still are kind of delusional about the way colonization has affected and played a role in their lives, even the way the stuff is set up now. Even if you could look around and see your people everywhere, they're still not to say that you are still not affected by the way colonialism took over the world. And so it puts me in a humbling place, but it also puts me in a place of where I just want to not go off, but it's like I feel like my opinion does matter. I feel like my perspective does matter, because there's a piece of the puzzle that I'm noticing that I can see, but that other people refuse to see, because you live in a country that isn't openly trying to reject you and eject you all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's like being a Black America don't fuck with us. Like, America ain't really for us, you know? So for me to have to walk around and have you stuff that identity down my throat when you don't even know the half of what it took for me to even be able to stand, you know, to be able to stand in my own skin, that's a little disheartening. And so I feel like to be a Black American in another country, it's like you either just get pushed in the American box, or you kind of just get the racism and you get the hating, you get the other stuff. And in all honesty, what do y'all think about that? What are y'all's experiences with that? If you are a Black person who was born in another country, also, even when I say Black, to me, Black is an experience, you know? Any immigrant who goes into America, you kind of are having a Black experience, because the system is doing everything that it can to make sure that you ain't getting what you need in some ways. Maybe not for white immigrants as much, like maybe y'all don't feel it as much or as heavy, but for brown people, when you step into America, the experience that you are having was originally sculpted for black born Americans. And you know, it's just like, if you try to understand who you are as a Black American outside of slavery, people don't want to hear that, because in hearing that narrative and hearing that story, then they have to acknowledge and honor the ways in which they play into that narrative. And I'm learning that most people don't want to do that. So as much as it's like, I love traveling, I love being able to go other places, but there still is this part of it where it's like just never feeling like you belong, or never quite feeling like you fit in, without having to kind of give up parts of yourself, you know? Even this whole idea of when Americans travel, you're expats. And it's like, what? I said this in my recent video about what it was like moving abroad, and how I moved abroad. But when people go to America from another country, I mean, yeah, they're an immigrant. You know, they're considered an immigrant. Being here in Belize, I have to go to the immigration office. I don't have to go to the expat office. I have to go to the immigration office. So it's like people create these illusions and they create these expectations because you're from America. You know, they hear your accent and they want to charge you a little more, or they want to assume things, you know? And it's like, as a brown person, as a black person, when you look at me, you need to see yourself. Period. You need to see yourself. Regardless of whether I'm from America, you need to see yourself. Like, and I think that's the thing that people don't want to do when they look at us, because they judge our heritage, they judge our story, they judge where we're from so much, or they just want the money part of it, or they just want the illusion, what they think this American dream is. And that's something that I've really been having to sit with, because it's like wherever I go, I'm still going to be a black person from America. And even when you're in America being a black person, people hear black and they dismiss that you have a history. They dismiss that you have any type of connection or value outside of slavery, outside of the roots of like American history and how it connects to black people. And I know that capitalism is a thing that is worldwide, but what people forget when they're talking about, especially when they talk to black people, like, well, y'all not the only ones that whatever, but when capitalism was created in America, capitalism and anti-blackness have the same birthday. They go hand in hand. One has to feed the other. Like, yes, most people experience class issues across the board, but the thing that keeps the class issues going is the race component. And racism was built off the backs of black people. Capitalism, anti-racism, hand in hand. You cannot separate the two. And every time you try to separate the two, it creates a problem. It creates a disconnect, and it creates more delusion, to me, in all honesty. So I feel like being black in other countries, you're going to have a different type of freedom. You're going to be able to breathe different. You're going to be able to move different. But there's also always going to be this lingering energy that just surrounds you that you don't have no control over. And you're also going to be the person that is going to be to smell and see and sniff out the racism or the colorism, and in a way that other people can't, in a way that other people can't connect to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love my history. I love my story. I love the fact that I'm still here, you know, like, and obviously if I could, I would change some stuff, because I think it's terrible that people have to even go through stuff like this, but we wouldn't be who we are without it. You know what I'm saying? It is a part of our history, but I just really want to put that out there to my other black and brown, like, sisters and brothers. Like, do y'all not notice the ways in which how you treat and connect to our identities, how you judge our identities, is a reflection of you? It's sometimes a reflection of ignorance. You know? Like, I don't know. Tell me what y'all think about it in the comments. I think I'm going to do more videos around this topic, because it's one that I can't escape. No matter, even me trying to kind of step away from America for a little bit just to, like, get a re-understanding of, like, my identity, it's still the one thing that is shown up and spit back in my face of this, like, you know, I was walking through San Ignacio downtown the other day, and this black dude, he looked black, okay, obviously he's Belizean, but if we don't talk, sometimes we really do just look like that's my cousin, you know, and he screams out like, American girl, American girl, and I look at him, and I'm just like, I didn't answer him, I didn't respond. So then he was like, what, you mad because I called you American? You mad because I called you American? Well, you not Belizean. And I'm like, nigga, I ain't trying to be Belizean. But also, if you really know the history of my people, if you really know the history of what it means to be a black person in America, you wouldn't just talk to me the way you're going to talk to some white girl that you see traveling through your country. You would have a little more respect. And no, I'm not talking for all the ignorant black people. I'm just letting y'all know that, like, there's still a way that the ways we think about and view our connections to blackness, it still is divisive. It still kind of creates space for us to keep doing the work of the very people that we're complaining about, the very systems that we're trying to tear down, the very system that we're trying to disconnect ourselves from. And you know what? I'm gonna try to make this video too long, but I really want to know what y'all think about that. If you're a person who travels and you've been black in other spaces, what's your experience been like? Am I just tripping? Am I just being too dramatic? I really don't care if you think that. But I want to know. Like, I want to know. You know, like, do y'all think I'm just being too hard? You know, but it's just, it's kind of, it puts me, I feel like a lot of times we stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And oh, an iguana just fell from the tree. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place, being a black person. And I'm not saying that to have no like victimized narrative. I'm not saying that to be like, woe is me. I'm just saying that because that is facts. That is facts. That is facts. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. Drop a comment below. You know, like this video if you feeling my style, if you like the energy, if you like the cheekbones, if you want to be a part of the tribe, just subscribe, you know, and turn your post notification bells on, and just keep coming back. Because it works if you. Okay, now I'm just rambling, so I'm just gonna cut this video short. But to summarize, my experience as a black person living abroad, it's really not bad. It's not bad. It just, I do feel like there's a lot of walls that I hit because I am born in America. But also, what does it really mean to be born a black person in America? Ooh, 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 ooh.